Hi, good afternoon. I'm George, M1GEO. Welcome to my rather messy shack. Here we're looking at the Icom 7700. Currently switched off. I'm going to look at how to get it going up and going with the remote interface software from Icom using the new 2.0 firmware. So I'll fire it up. And you'll see down here that the new 2.0 firmware is installed. There we go. Okay. What we're listening to at the moment is the Work Tool Britain net. So just everything's going okay. Right. I'll just quickly show you at the back here. Transverter. Got an Ethernet cable. I've disconnected the normal cat interface I use. Got an Ethernet cable here and some power onto the radio, and a couple of antennas connected at the minute. Nothing fancy. Okay. Right. Let's turn the net down. Exit that. And get onto the setup menu. I'll show you what I've got configured. So it's in other items. The camera some time to focus, hopefully. Oops, there we go. Righto. The first thing to look at is this one here. Just come straight down to it. It's the shutdown function. Normally when you turn the radio off, I'll just show you quickly, you go straight to shutdown. Once the radio has been shut down like that, you can't connect to it remotely, so you need to change that option. Hopefully the radio will come straight back there. You need to change that option to shutdown, standby shutdown instead. And now what we'll notice, if we just save that back to the menu, so it's saved. When I shut down the radio now, it asks me what I want it to do. It gives me the option to shut it down down here as it did before, or using the VFO. Main VFO, I can switch between the two of them, and I can go to standby. And what you'll see now is that the power button gradually fades on and off to let me know it's in standby. Fire it back up again, turn it back on, come back to the menu. I leave the baud rate as automatic, the CIV address as 74 hex, which is the default. People have reported it if they change that, it needs to be changed in the software. So I've got nothing else to use it with, so I just leave that as a default as well. And most of these things are left as they are. The only other bits you need to change are starting here with the IP addresses. So I've used the subnet that I use on my network is 192.168.1 is the subnet I use, and you can find that on the computer. I'll show you that in a second. And the last one is got to be a unique number on their network, so I've used 199, which is outside of the IPs that the router will allocate, but inside the subnet, as it were. Probably teaching you to suck eggs a bit with this IP stuff, but just in case people didn't know. This machine, the Shack PC here, a bit of an old doddery one, but if you go down here and click on the network, you can just about see it. An avalanche in the shack. Get that off the mouse cable. There we go. We can click on support here, and it will show me the IP address of the computer. So it's 192.168.1.102, and I've chosen .1 here, .1.199 for the radio. Jot these down. You'll need the subnet mask as well, and the default gateway, which changes depending on your router. You need to transfer those numbers to the radio as well. So here you can see I've got the default subnet mask one of 255.255.255.0, which is a fairly standard one, and the default gateway as well. I had to adjust the very last one. I think these two here, the last two, this one and this one, to match my router, but that's fairly trivial. You can find those from Windows anyway. Right. Allow network control obviously needs to be turned on, otherwise there's not much point in going through the rest of it. These three ports here I leave as standard. Internet access I changed to fibre to the home, FTTH. Here on the outskirts of London I've actually got fibre to the cabinet. The cabinet's at the top of my road, a couple hundred metres away, so the internet's fairly quick. I've got about getting on for about 80 megabit internet here, so fibre to the home is generally about right. The other alternative, of course, is ADSL, so we're much closer to the fibre, fortunately, around here. Oops, must put it into CW, put it back on sideband, there we go, wrong button. Any other things to do, just create some accounts. Here I've used user ID 1, M1GEO, which is my call sign. I've set a password for it, and I've set myself as administrator, which just means that you can kick other people off if they're connected remotely. I also created a guest account so I could let a couple of local hams connect in and listen to their own transmissions and tune around as well. And they're not set to administrators. I didn't use the third one. Give the radio a name. The name has to be unique on the network. I've called mine M1GEO 7700. Call it whatever you like, but it can't be the same as anything else. So my computer in the shack here is called Shack PC. As long as it's not called the name of any other PC, then it should be fine. Okay. Other than that, I turned some of the codecs up, added a few sample rates onto the transmission audio over here. So I think it's by default it's let's put it back, it's only 8K. I turned it right up because I have a decent amount of network bandwidth and fairly quick internet on both sides, so just means the transmit audio sounds very slightly better, but worth tinkering around with if you haven't got it. But just this will get you going anyway, and you can tinker from here. Okay, so I think we're now done with that. Let's put the radio back to how it was, back with the scope on, and take a look at the computer next. Okay, so we'll go to the computer and we'll launch the setup. Obviously, I'm going to choose English. Next, accept the terms and conditions. Enter a username. So here I just enter normally my call sign, for username or name, something like that, and then do use capitals properly. There we go. Next step is to input your product ID and license key. It took me quite a while to find where I could buy this software, the Icom RS-BA1, without the Icom shafting code. I didn't really want this kind of the tuning knob that connects via USB. As I wanted to use it in my office, I didn't want anything that looked a bit weird hanging off their PC, so I went for one without that, and I ended up buying it from M1GEO in Germany for I think it was about €60, so not too bad at all. Okay, fortunately enough for me, I've copied and pasted my key into a text file, so I'll just put you back to the radio front panel a moment when I put those in. There we go, bear with me 1 second. Okay, close that. Back to the next screen after the key has gone in. Okay. Right. Push next and install it to the default location. Just puts it inside programming files. Cool. That's that done. Got to install the virtual serial driver, which gives us our virtual CIV port, a virtual COM port, which it looks like we've connected to the radio via a CAT interface, or a CIV interface as Icom would call it. So install that. We'll also get one for the audio drivers, which looks like we've got a nice sound card interface. And again, we install that, and I think that's pretty much it. Just got to run the update from here. So this installs the very first version 1.0, which has got the license checking, and you see it's done successfully. We go back, find the update version, which is here, and run the setup for that. Go to that moment, and there we go. And this one takes us from version 1 to version 1.6, which is the one that come with, or the one that matches the new firmware version 2 for the Icom 7700. It doesn't take very long to install. You may or may not have to restart the computer depending on what's installed, so I didn't usually on the ones that I did. But I've done this. This is running this machine's running Windows XP. Some of the other ones I've tried it on. The one in the office at home, at work, sorry, is running Windows 8. So no, like it's running Windows 7. They would never use Windows 8, I don't think. Okay, yeah, there we go. Dusty old computer screen. What you see here is we're left with 2 files installed. The remote utility, which connects to the radio via the network port, and it creates a virtual sound card and a virtual COM port as well. And then the remote utility here, which connects to the COM port that the other program makes, and allows us to control the radio and gives us like a virtual interface to the radio front panel. So I'll break the video there just to make editing it a bit easier and rejoin them. Okay, so the 2 files. First one we need to run is the remote utility, and it may or may not ask you to. To set up the station. It didn't this time for us. So go to network settings, put in the computer name. It's just chosen it from the network, I think. Shack PC, that will do. Control port, serial port, and audio port come from the radio front panel. So if we flick back to that, those are the numbers that you see. Those are the numbers that you see here. So control port, serial port, and audio port. 50,001, 50,002, 50,003. Make sure they go in that order as they are here. So as I say, I've just left them the default values and fiber to the home as well. So apply those. Okay. As nothing here's changed, for completeness, I'll restart the program. There we go. Okay. Great stuff. Okay, let's come back a little bit so you can see the window in full. Right, need to define a server first of all. So we go into the radio operation. We're going to use this piece of software as a client. The server's built into the radio, so we're going to just create add a server to the server list. So what we need to do in here is give it a name. Give the server a description or a name. So that's, you're going to describe the radio. So I'm going to just put YouTube. I would if I could type example. Okay, YouTube example typed in. Here I put the IP address of the radio in. So if we flick back to the radio, that's this number here. That's this one, the IP address of the radio. And it's set, you can see it's set to 192.168.1.199 in this case. Okay, so that's what I've got to put in here. 192.168.1.199. Great stuff. Okay, I put my username in. So these are the ones that we entered down here. I'm going to use this account, the first one, user1, which is my username, my password. And the fact that it's administrator just means that you can disconnect people who you don't want connected. So I'm going to just use the keyboard here to type in to the computer. So I've got my username in and add my password. Okay, it doesn't come up. No, there we go, we're good. Right, that's that. And obviously we don't want to disable it, so just press OK. Well, what we can do now is press connect, and fingers crossed it should come up and connect to the radio. Okay, alright, well, that's a pretty self-explanatory error. It looks like that, but normally it connects. Let's have a quick look, see what I've done. Just check my password was typed in right, and I haven't. Ah, I know what it is, I've got caps lock on. Good stuff. Fingers crossed this time. Press connect again. Yeah, there we go. See? It's connecting, and you know it says it's connected. You've got, it tells you the round trip time in milliseconds. So these computers are going just to a hub on the other side of the workshop. So it's just not even leaving the building. I mean, it's very, very short distance, maybe sort of 20 meters of cable to and from a hub. So there's no delay, and fortunately no packet loss as well, which is a good sign. Okay, so we've actually connected to the radio. We're connected to the 7700 now, just in terms of the control port. What we need to do now is patch the audio and that kind of thing through. So the radio name that we entered earlier on, well, I entered it, comes through now. So that's in this list here somewhere. It's under network name if I'm not mistaken. No, maybe the other way. Here somewhere. Isn't it? There it is. That name there. M1GEO 7700. That comes up here. Okay. The only thing you've got to do here is select where you want the COM ports to be defined and how you want to choose an audio device. So first thing to do, I just leave everything set to default. That lets the Windows sound controller control everything. You can use recommended button here to get recommended buffering. I'm using LAN. Just press that. It suggests me the values that I should use. I agree with them. It chooses that. If you want to do something different, go with that. And the other thing is the virtual COM port. So you need to select a COM port that isn't in use, that you don't have in hardware or another virtual COM port. Numbers on this machine start at COM 10. Sorry, hiccups. Numbers on this machine start at COM 10. So I'll go with that for now. Okay, all of the sample rates and everything just leave as default. Press save, and hopefully if we press connect it should go. Yeah, virtual COM port is 10. So now you probably hear audio blaring out of the computer. You can see the AF bar jumping up and down. What I've done actually is muted the computer so that I couldn't hear it come out, but you should hear it.
I'm running on an old list, so Tony's gone XKT. Good afternoon.
That's coming. Let me turn it down.
Nice to have you on.
That's coming out of the computer speaker. I can turn the radio up as well.
G0 Fox Echo X-ray, over. G0 FEX, G0 GMY, yes, everything's good, thank you, Tom. The garden's growing and it's nearly done. It's been a labour of love, I tell you. But you know what I'll play, I think, yes, I could be on with you all this afternoon. That is babysitting, so I've got a bit of time to myself. I haven't got the station manager after me again, over.
Okay, so the audio's coming through okay. It's just on the frequency that the radio was left on. All we need to do now is run the other software. This is the one that gives you the virtual sound and the virtual COM port. Leave the volume control here. We need to run this program now, the remote control. We run that, and it may or may not pick everything up. So yeah, it has for me. If it doesn't, don't panic. I think it just defaults to the default COM port. So let me how can I do it? It's because it's on use. If I press that one, it turns the virtual radio off. Okay, so if I press the COM settings one, I select the radio I want to use, Icom 7700, and you must select version 2 upwards. This one only interfaces with it with another computer running as a server. Version 2 will interface with the Ethernet in the radio. Okay, so we select COM port 10. It only gives you available COM ports, COM port 1 or COM port 10. Obviously we chose COM port 10, and you can confirm that in this program here. So it says COM port 10. Okay, it looks for the radio address. It tells you that there, and that's the default one. If you've changed it, you need to change it. This is the address of the software. Again, leave that blank. And there's an option here that says closing the software turns off the radio. You may or may not want that on. Okay, remote utility. You need to select it and join it to this one here. So this control software is linked now to the interface software, as it were. Press OK and turn it on. And my radio just made a big clattery noise, and it comes on. Okay, if I unmute the radio now, I'll try and put it quiet.
It's on the log, so that's what we'll be busy doing.
Okay.
Later on, I can't bring the electronic log up because
from here you can do everything you would normally do with the radio via the software. I mean, you on the 7700 you don't get a band scope as far as I know or anything like that, but you get a fairly decent transceiver, and you can twiddle with filters and make a real mess of them and clear them, that kind of thing, the sort of normal thing. adjust the volume and the RF power, tune and change the antennas and stuff. Ah, actually an interesting note regarding antennas. Let's turn the volume down a moment. I use transverters as well, and one option that I did need to select to allow me to change the antennas was under, where was it? There's a setting in here somewhere. I'm not sure where it was now. There was an option that allows you whether or not you can change antenna. Where's it gone? It's in here somewhere. I do apologise. Set mode. Yes, here. It says antenna select. Enabled. Now to double click on it and press on. And then I can change the antenna. The volume back up. If you watch the S meter, you'll be able to see when you change the antenna. Okay. If I mute that, and you can look at the front panel here. I'll just put the front panel back of the radio back to normal now. You'll see here where it says antenna. There, it should change as I click the button. You'll probably hear the relay as well. You've got antenna here and here on the screen. Again, you see the waterfalls drop to nothing where there's no signal anymore. And back to number 1. Everyone's back. The volumes can be independent, so you'll notice that although the radio volume is turned to nothing, I can easily get sound out the computer, and that doesn't change the volume on the on the radio either. So turning it up on the remote computer doesn't mean it's blaring out inside the house either. Okay, so I'm using this the Windows volume control. You also got one on here on the radio along with a squelch. You've got various options for setting almost everything, and you can get from the set mode option on the operating panels, you can get all sorts of bits and pieces and settings for compression and everything else that you might want. Okay, changing band, fairly easy. General coverage, and you can see the radio's jumped with it. I've never heard that before. You also notice here you've got a LAN light comes on as well, which means someone's connected via the LAN. Some odd mode there. Anything I do on the radio is echoed on the computer, so I can do, for example, 60 meters, 5 point. Ah, that's interesting. Maybe not then. Yeah, it does work. I do apologise. I don't know what that was about. 5 point. How strange. What am I doing wrong? Oh, maybe I've messed something up. Normally you can enter the frequency 5 point something. Ah, well, it doesn't work. But you can definitely change band, and it's echoed on the software anyway. Not too sure what that is. But if I press through 40. I go to 10 meters and then 15, you can hear the radio clicking, but obviously the audio has been muted. It's the 1933 net that one must have been listening to some days ago. Okay, and vice versa. If I press the buttons on the computer, if I press the buttons on here, say 17 meters, the radio changes. What I was trying to do was get to 60 meters, which requires you to either type it in, and I can do that from the numeric keypad on the keyboard here. So if I try to show you this key was connected to the computer, so I can do say 5.4035. Press enter, and the radio's changed there. Doesn't appear to be anybody there, but there you go. Okay, that's that part. That's the standard Icom software. And what I was trying to do was connect it to FL-Digi and to do some digital modes with it. I know the radio does them built-in PSK and RTTY, but I was after doing them from an office or something. So I'll just do a quick clip of that as well. Okay, so starting from where we just left off with the remote interface, I'll put the sound back on a little tiny bit just so we can appreciate it's going. This is all coming, the sound you're hearing is coming via the computer. The radio's turned to 0. And I'm going to go to, just going to type in the frequency 14.070. Go there, you hear the radio click and make some noise. And I'm not sure if the antenna will tune here or not. Let's give that a press and see what happens. So I'm pressing tune. Yep. Looks like we're tuned. Oh, it looks like it failed actually. Not the normal antenna I use for this one. Doesn't matter. But there we go. Okay, so you can hear plenty of digital modes. We've got a notch filter in which makes it sound awful. I'll take those out. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this interface, the remote control. And the radio's turned itself off because I didn't untick that box that said closing the software closes, it turns off the radio. So running the software, I believe turns it back on, but we'll see. Yeah, it does. I can hear it clicking. There you go. Okay, right, so somewhere in here, I think it's on this one, you need to untick that. I need to close this piece of software because I want to open the COM port, the virtual COM port from this software. I want to open that with FL Digi that I used to do digital mode. So I'm going to close this software now. This time the rig stayed on. I'm going to push this to one side and I'm going to find FL Digi, which is quite an old version now, but should still show us what we need to see. Let's turn that down a little bit more. Right. So remember the virtual COM port is virtual COM 10. And we're going to try and connect FL Digi up with that. Let's close the lots of bits and pieces going. Right. So configure. Rig control first of all. Here we're in FL Digi. I mean, this could be replaced with any software you want to. Maybe one that does sound cards or something. Hamlib. Icom7700 stable. It's the radio we've got, and we're on COM 10 via the software. The baud rate by default is 19,200. If I press initialize, it's the problem I was having. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And typically you see down here IO error. See that there? And it's just giving me some arbitrary frequency it's managed to find. People suggested slowing the COM speed down. Let's give that a try. Again, I still get an IO error down here. I have had this working, but not recently. Just fathom around with it a moment. I think I had X on X off before and it worked. Or was it that? It might have been that actually. It might have been request to send, clear to send. Again, each time I get IO error anyway, so it's not looking too good. A quick look on. No, unfortunately not. Doesn't look like I'm going to get that going. This is the problem that I stumbled upon rather. I was just trying to get this thing. I've had it going. I did have it going, and it was very unreliable. But it doesn't want to work at all now. That's for sure. Okay. No. Nope. Doesn't want to do anything now. Let's go back again. Configure. Rig control. 7700 stable. And it's one stop bit usually. Doesn't matter. Okay, when I press initialize, everything jumps, but it just says IO error at the bottom of the screen, which is rather frustrating. Sorry, just have the camera. Success will have the right frequency. The radio is still on 14070 with PSK31, and the frequency is wrong. Actually, when we get it right, the frequency does change to be right, but okay. Oh well, right. Let's a bit of a lost cause on that front then. But okay, the CAT interface doesn't work. But you can certainly patch the sound cards through just by literally selecting Icom for both of those and pressing save. You can see that the signals start to appear on the waterfall. If I put it in PSK31 on the select a fairly strong one here, here's one. Clear the receive window. There's somebody there calling CQ. Oscar Echo 1 Romeo Sierra Sierra calling. You can just jump around the band there. Another station calling CQ Italian. And the guy's very strong down here. And the transmission works as well. The only problem that I can't get to work is the CAT interface. So that's how far I've got so far. And appreciate any kind of feedback. If I find something else out, I'll upload the video. Hopefully it's been useful. As I said, a few people on the Yahoo forum for the 7700 asked me for a short video on how to set this stuff up. So certainly to the first part, the Icom software works brilliantly well. And this bit's a little bit flaky on the end, so there we are. Anyway, hopefully it's been useful to you. Many thanks for watching, and I wish you the best 7.3 from M1GEO.